Greetings, friends. Reformed Stoic back with another video. It's been a little bit. Man, things have just been a little bit busy lately. I appreciate people wishing me well on my last community post. I'm really not sick or injured. I needed to put an emphasis on I felt like I was kind of on the verge of getting sick or on the verge of getting injured. I mean, I was already injured a couple of weeks ago, but everything's going smooth. I feel like my central nervous system was just a little bit overworked from the daily weightlifting. It's this thing where I was taking a break from running, but running was kind of like a break from weightlifting, and I lifted weights every day. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on the catch up. There's no reason that I'm wearing sunglasses and a hat. No, I'm not high. Let's get right down to it, guys. So I wanted to talk about bars. Why I don't tend to go to bars or be that crazy about bars. And I figured it could be an excuse for a couple of stories, kind of getting back in gear and trying to get some momentum going on the channel. And the bro dude hat and the sunglasses maybe kind of brings me back to times when I was a borderline alcoholic. And I think it really snuck up on me because I was not necessarily surrounded by alcoholics. I don't want to make it sound like everybody around me was an alcoholic. And anybody who's been social, anybody who's had a real social life, I mean, that's kind of what it is. That's what social people who have friends do. They drink. And it's who's an alcoholic and who's just a regular person? I mean, I feel like everybody who was a part of that was a borderline alcoholic. What I considered an alcoholic was people who shit blood and have withdrawals if they don't drink maybe a half a bottle of vodka in the morning or something. I've known some people who have some very serious drinking problems. And by the way, that is not just in my hometown of Kodiak, Alaska. I know people who drank to that level on the East Coast in Boston as well. I've never been like that, but there was a time when I was visiting Kodiak and somebody kind of just mentioned in passing, it's bro, have you been drinking every day? That's not good for you, right? And I was like, oh shit, I guess I have been drinking every day. I didn't really think about it as drinking every day. I'm just having fun and going out and partying, and I missed people, dude, and I don't know, man. I didn't really think about it that way. So now I don't drink, and when I talk about this stuff, I wanted to make sure I got this bit in. I thought about this earlier today. I was thinking about making this video. When I talk about this stuff, people are like, oh, dude, Stoic's pretending that he had friends again. He's pretending that he partied. We know you were a loser. We know you didn't party. And it kind of reminded me of, it's I can be a chud because that's what they need me to be. Because sometimes the truth isn't good enough. I can be a chud. I can be that. If that's what you guys need me to be, if you need me to have never had a social life, then I can be that. Because sometimes the truth isn't good enough. It was way funnier earlier today when I did it by myself. But anyway, bars. So I wanted to start by saying that I allegedly started drinking around 16, 17. First time I ever really drank to get drunk, not just your dad or your uncle or something giving you a swig of his beer or whatever. When I first started to party, it was the beginning of my junior year of high school, really the end of the summer leading up to it. I was 16, and so yeah, I started drinking when I was 16, 17, 18, before it was legal to drink. And what it comes down to is that a good portion of my fond memories of drinking are before it was legal to drink. And what happens is there's this moment where everybody's turning 21 and they're talking about how exciting it is to go to the bars, and people might have their 21st birthday at a bar depending on how old their friend group is, and that usually ends up being a really bad time, spending a lot of money and getting way too drunk. But it's just, for me, growing up in Kodiak, Alaska, we would go out the road to these like remote beaches and go into the woods, or we'd throw parties at people's houses. I threw a couple of parties at my house. One time my drum teacher busted one of them and sent everybody home. And yeah, I mean, those are kind of my fond memories of drinking. Not that there weren't bad times. There was lots of bad times, but it's interesting how right around that time everybody was turning 21. That's just kind of when life started to get real. You know, things are really carefree in high school. And my earliest memories at bars, there's like a couple of times that I had were good. But I just can like share a handful of stories now, both from my hometown and from Boston. One of my earliest memories drinking at a bar in my hometown was the summer of 2013 when I quit a boat. Or it might have been the following winter 2013. But I think it was that summer, and I was drinking at Tony's, and a friend of mine from the past comes up and was like, "Hey Jake, how was the boat?" And then he turns his back on me. So, yeah, and not everybody was like that, but a couple of people kind of had that judgmental smile. And so there was this drama where, like, you know, I was going to work on a boat for maybe like a month or two, and I just ended up quitting. Why did I quit? Nobody really cares. For the record, a lot of people who worked on that boat had problems. But it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and hash out the excuses. I just fucking quit. And really, from my perspective, I feel like people are kind of nosy in Kodiak. Maybe everybody should have just kind of minded their own fucking business. You know what I mean? Because it's funny how other people would, like, blow their job on a boat because they were such degenerate drug addicts and alcoholics. But people would be like, "Yeah, but that's different, dude. Like, you chose to quit, and those people didn't choose. They were just fucked up, man." It's like, oh, okay. But anyway, point is, I was trying to, like, make it playing in bands on the East Coast, and around the time I was 21, it's just kind of when shit was starting to, like, the beginning of it starting to go sour. Really, you know, in the summer of 2013, I was 22 or 23. So I had some bar times before that in Kodiak. I wanted to mention this. I had a pea coat. I bought that pea coat when I was like 19, but I must have held on to it. I mean, it was a expensive pea coat. It makes sense that I held on to it. But I remember when I brought my pea coat to Kodiak, that was a really good example of the kind of like culture crisis that I was having. I was at the B&B bar in Kodiak. Kodiak is the biggest fishing town like in the world, and the B&B is right on the docks. That might as well be like SpongeBob's Salty Splatoon. And some like gray beard, kind of like greasy, what's the word? Like husky guy sitting at the bar looks over at me. He's like, "You look like you want to drink a vodka cranberry." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I actually like those." And some people would point it out. I remember people took pictures of us. It might have been that night at the bar, and I was standing around with my pea coat. And a friend left a comment on the pictures on Facebook. It's like, "What the fuck is up with Shields, man? He's always just like standing around all fucking awkward, man. He's not even talking to anybody." By the way, the guy who said that is dead. Rest in peace. And I had another story about him. Some other people's stories from bars. I had a friend who said he was talking to this girl all night at the bar. You know, buying her drinks, chatting her up, asking her life story. And then my friend, who I basically made a video about when he died, real cool guy, he visited me in Boston once. He just kind of stumbles up to them at the bar, finishing up his beer, just how I imagine it. He's like, yeah, so I'm going to fucking get out of here. Like, you come with me or what? And he says that to the girl that my friend's been talking to all night. And she's like, okay. And he takes her home. Bam. And he's smashing. And I remember my friend relayed my other friend who more or less got, I don't even know if you're allowed to say that. He got C blocked or whatever you want to call it. Had the girl taken from under his nose. He was a little emotional about it. It's like, dude, I was talking to her all night, man. It's fucked up, bro. So I'm not the only one who has bad times at bars, but when I'm trying to like summarize like what it is about bars that I just kind of think are a bummer. I had a lot of bad experiences early on. So then in Boston, then one time I'm sitting at the bar in Boston with a couple of my friends, and there's like a different friend group next to me. There's this guy with a jean jacket, and he's got a bunch of like, you get the patches that you sew on for bands. He's like some hipster dude. He might have been Gee. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just feel like he was. And he's hanging out with a couple of girls. And one of them says something about Radiohead. And I just kind of turn over and I'm like, oh man. And I make some comment about Radiohead. I don't remember what it was. But the guy gives me that look like looking at me like I'm such a fucking idiot look. Just like my vibe was like, oh, and his vibe was like, it's just way too long ago. I don't remember what anybody actually said. But yeah, something like that would happen where it's like, oh, damn, like, okay, fuck me for like trying to make a friendly comment to people and trying to open up and talk to people. I mean, when I lived in the house with all the metal musicians in Boston, we really didn't go to bars that often, man. Like, maybe we'd go to a restaurant that served alcohol, that had a bar, and we'd get drinks and nachos. We did that a lot. We went to a place called the Sunset in Alston and get nachos and buy alcohol. So it's one thing to like go to places that serve alcohol. I don't want to put this place on blast, but let's just say there was low key a place very near, basically on the Berkeley campus. I don't even know if it's still there, that served alcohol. And I was getting pictures of beer when I was like 18 or 19 there, bro. The word just kind of spread that they didn't ID people. The word just kind of spread, man. And there was a bunch of young ass music students drinking pictures of beer when they're like 18 and 19. Anyway, I have no idea what that place is called. Maybe it's not still there. Y'all are real ones. Y'all are real ones for doing that, even though it's against the law, allegedly. Maybe that didn't even happen in Minecraft. But, yeah, kind of rambly and stumbly here, guys. I mean, this is like shaking off the cobwebs when I haven't made a video in a while. But for me, it's like, and I always end up like kind of accidentally saying some snobby, judgmental shit, and I don't mean to, but there's a lot of people who do enjoy going to bars or have been regulars at bars for basically their entire lives. And like, it's exciting when you're 21. It's like, yeah, we can go to the bar now, guys. And then you fast forward 10 years and it's like, they've been going to the bar like the entire time, all the time. And bars are places where, you spend, like, you buy overpriced alcohol. And I've experienced some kind of like gossiping there, or people being kind of judgmental, or some like weird tense social shit. That same weird tense social shit could have been at the parties and the house parties and the beach bonfire parties before that. But I guess my life just hadn't really gotten to that place yet. I was a lot less threatening, I guess you would say. People were like, nobody's threatened by you, bro. But I just blended in a lot better before I went to music school and tried to do whatever the fuck it is I tried to do with my life. And I can imagine, I think maybe I've even experienced this before. There's kind of like a dopamine rush you get from buying overpriced alcohol at the bar, especially if you're making money. There's people who would like ring the bell in Kodiak, you know, they get back from fishing. They got whatever they got. They're like 20 grand or 50 grand or whatever. And the first thing they fucking do is sit at the bar and ring the bell and buy everybody drinks. I've never done that. A lot of it's because I haven't really had a lot of money. And it kind of got to that place where it's like, as I aged into the bar going years, which is supposed to be like the majority of your 20s, I didn't have a lot of money. And then it got to a point where I didn't have a lot of friends. And when I had the biggest social circle that I had in Boston with the metal people, we were all metal people. And there's people out there like, bro, I listen to metal and I go to bars. Like, you're a loser, dude. Not everybody listens to metal is a loser. But a lot of people who listen to metal, I don't want to say are losers, but we were doing house parties, dude. We were doing like sausage fest, dude, bro, house parties. A couple of times there were some women there. But a lot of dudes like, bro, fucking Spawn of Possession, dude. Doing beer bongs and kind of staying away from the bars, bro. And yeah, for me, and then now going to bars, it's like I tried a couple of times where I'm living now. If it's way too crowded, there's not even anywhere to sit. As soon as you get up to take a piss, somebody takes your seat. I went to this like dance thing, or it wasn't a dance, like they were playing EDM music, but people were dancing. It's funny, man. Like I was dancing by myself, just trying to have fun. Most of the people there were couples, and their guys didn't want to dance. I bet a lot of girls were kind of wishing their boyfriend was a lot more like me in that moment, because I was dancing and trying to have fun. And a couple of guys, I told the story before, were like low-key kind of giving me shit. Like, they came right up to me and danced. I was like, yeah, bro, high five. And I just kind of got the vibe like they were kind of giving me a little bit of shit. But I played it off, and we had fun, you know, and we were doing little dance battles and shit. But I only ever did that once, and it's like, bro, I don't want to, like, make a spectacle of myself. I just don't. There's girls that say, like, when guys are able to have fun by themselves, it's attractive, but I actually do like to dance. You know, you guys saw my little saga doing the breakdancing and shit on my stream. I was trying to learn how to breakdance for a while. Incredibly difficult. Incredibly, like, I practiced breakdancing probably for like a month straight, daily, and I did not make like that much progress. You watch these like Red Bull breakdance offs, bro, that is like, it reminds me of jazz and like technical metal, like really technical cutting edge music, like shredding, odd time shit, but with your body, like, you know, with like technical spinning on your head and whatever the wheelbarrow, I can't even remember any of the, I want to say jelking, but I can't remember what any of the shit's called, dude, because I pretty much gave up. But, you know, going to bars now, that's what people say. It's like, if you want to meet somebody, just go to a bar, bro. Well, the stuff I've been talking about in this video so far is what's kind of playing in my head. Like, things starting to kind of grow sour with people in my hometown. Really, the handful of times I've tried to go to bars in Boston, like, some awkward shit would happen, like the guy giving me the death glare. I did go to bars where there were shows playing. A lot of bars are venues. Yes, one time I did experience, I was standing behind a girl, I think she was a little bit taller than me, and when she turns around and looks at me, I kind of have this smile, like maybe I'm trying to throw it at her, and she gives me the pat on the head. One time in Kodiak, people were like leaving the bar, and they're like, hey man, you want to come with us? And this is some awkward shit to talk about on stream. This is kind of the story of like late teens, early 20s. Because I used to be a pothead and drink a lot. I was a pothead for a long time. But the kind of like fun, sketchy thing that I experimented with a little bit was Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? And I thought, it got to this point where people were like, hey man, you coming with us? And I thought they were going to do Coca-Cola, but they were doing some other shit. They were doing some Oxycontin. I don't know what else to call it. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this shit or not. But and there was a couple of times, twice when I said, "Fuck it." One time with a girl, and I probably could have taken advantage of that situation, but I didn't because I'm such a fucking nice guy. But yeah, once with a girl, once with a group of people at the bar. I just said fuck it and I rolled with it. And I think I'm really lucky, man. I think I'm really lucky that that didn't stick, because with a lot of people, it did stick. And people started kind of blowing up my phone, like, "Hey, man, you want to fucking get some Oxy, bro?" And I was like, "Yeah, not really, dude. I'm not really. Can you get me this?" And they're like, "We should just do this, bro." And these people kind of started hitting me up, and I was kind of trying to like leverage it to be cool. I'm very lucky that that didn't stick with me, but that was at the B&B when the people were leaving to do that. So one time that I was kind of the man at a bar. I was showing people some pictures of a girl that I hooked up with one summer. Not something that's happened for me very often, but I was kind of showing off these pictures, and I had filled in on a boat for like a week, and I made a comment next to this girl at the bar, and I was like, "Yeah, I can do anything for a week." And she looks at me and she was like, "I can suck dick for a week." And then she gets up and goes off to the bathroom. Of course, I didn't do anything about it. Of course, I didn't do anything about it. That was a girl that I had known ever since middle school. Me and her go way back. We're the same age. We were kind of friends, but that's how it is, bro. When girls catch wind that you're with other girls, then your stock goes up. I never really cashed in on the girls my own age. I can tell you what, bro. I was starting to hook up with girls a couple of years younger, but they were legal. They were legal. I'm saying like I was 22, 23. They were like 18, 19. You know what I mean? But yeah. No, the girls my own age finally started to kind of give me the time of day a little bit. And I never really cashed in on that. But yeah, damn. I could suck dick for a week. I should have totally been all over that, man. But bars, man, you know, I almost just never even really got started with bars. But I guess in conclusion, kind of awkwardly rambling for like 22 minutes there. What is it about bars, guys, for me? It's just in my 20s. Look, the first half of my 20s, really like the first 3 years of my 20s, was great. Arguably, socially, I was peaking. I had some status for music school. I kept friends in Kodiak for a little bit. There was like kind of a short period of time where it's like, dude, this guy's fucking playing in death metal bands and going to music school, and some people were kind of rocking with me for a little bit, but there was definitely some like bitter sourness underneath it all that would eventually like come to the surface when it was time for everybody to fucking dogpile me and cancel me. But man, it's really hard for me to like get this last little summary out and put my finger on it. It's just, for me, partying was being a miscreant youth. The end of high school. And I started partying late in high school. I hung out with like goody two-shoes musician kids my sophomore and freshman year. They were a little bit older. They graduated. They were seniors when I was a sophomore. And when I was a freshman, I had some friends who were seniors. But all those older guys, all those older music nerd cool guys, I mean, they were cool. They were really good friends to me. They all cleared out my junior year, and I got sucked into this party crowd. And I had all kinds of bad times. Like, it's weird how I talk about those times like I look fondly on them. And I do, but I also don't. And this is heavily covered in my book, Conversations with Milton. Anybody who hasn't read that yet, that's really like me talking about how I kind of wish the story is like a manifestation of how I wish I could go back and do high school over again. And really just like he still parties in the book. I still party in the book, but there's a lot more balance, and I spend a lot more time alone, and I have much better boundaries. But oh, and by the way, when I had that pea coat, Like that awkward phase when I brought the pea coat to Kodiak, I was smoking Parliaments, man. For every different kind of cigarettes, there's like different memories attached to it. Smoking Camel filters near the end of Berkeley before I dropped out. I was smoking Parliaments like near the end of my first semester, kind of between, I think like the first winter break. And I visited my family in Vegas when I was like 19. I was texting this girl. You guys ever do that where you just text a girl back and forth like a million times for like a year straight and then nothing ever even happens? That was going on when I was 19. I feel like that has to happen to everybody at least once. Like getting friend zoned on the fucking phone and like texting flirty bullshit. I still had hair. I had my Cope hairline. If you see the picture of me on my clip channel where there's the photoshopped sunglasses and the blunt, that hair that I had, I was still trying to rock that in a pea coat, smoking Parliaments. That really paints a picture, man. I just don't like bars. And it obviously like comes from these bad early experiences. Like I never really had a really good time at a bar. And obviously with the chick saying like, oh, I can suck dick for a week, I was close. I was close to all kinds of things being a good time. But yeah, man, shit. It reminds me of my mid-20s, my slightly early to mid-20s. It reminds me of the beginning of the foreboding of what was going to become the train wreck that my life became. And then in Vegas, holy shit, a couple weeks into living in Vegas, I go to this bar that's walking distance from my place, go in, sit down, start playing some video poker. I ended up fucking spilling my drink, maybe like 5-10 minutes after being there. There was like a couple of people there. They all looked like they were a little older than me. They kind of like glanced at me and looked away. I spilled my drink, and then I left, and I never went back, and I never went to any other bars in Vegas again. A friend from Boston visited me in Vegas, and we went casino hopping and gambled for free drinks. That was fun. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can do in Vegas, man. I got shithouse hammered that night, though, bro. We were at the Sapphire Strip Club watching when Conor McGregor got choked out by Nate Diaz. Dude, I got a stripper's number that night. And I was almost blacked out drunk. I was like hungover for the next 2 days. I got a stripper's phone number because I told her I was a rapper. And she's like, oh, we should collab. I didn't fucking capitalize on that because I was like, no, bitch, you can't collab with me. I'm going to be famous. I've blown it so many times. You guys have no idea how many times I could have just like not been an idiot and racked up like 5-10 more lays, dude. 3-5 more lays. But I was going up to strippers that night, be like, hey, it's my birthday, can I spank you? I was like spanking strippers and just blacked out hammered, bro. I tell you what, man, the liquid confidence, when I drink, it's kind of like a slot machine, and you just never know what you're going to get. I'm either going to make a complete fucking ass of myself, I might get the spins and throw up, or I might have that bulletproof confidence and be approaching women. And I had a couple of good times. I definitely had good times drinking. I hooked up a couple of times drinking at like house parties, but bars, picking up a girl at the bar, going home with a girl from the bar, it never really happened. There was gossip at the bar. There was awkward moments at the bar. There was getting mogged at the bar. And the kind of people who, you know, were cooler than me at bars, they've been going to bars their entire fucking life. And I have a feeling like a lot of times it's not really this glorious thing anymore. And maybe this is how I can put it, you guys, after 30 minutes of rambling about it. It's like, I just know that bars aren't really a positive thing. And when they were a positive thing, it's in your early 20s. And that ship has kind of sailed for me. I was in some bars in my early 20s. I was surrounded by friends. I had a little money in my pocket. You get that dopamine rush from buying overpriced drinks. One time a girl made a comment, like I could suck dick for a week. I'll bet maybe she lurks on my channel sometime. I saw her last time I was in Kodiak. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that, baby. I remember that. Maybe you can fly up for a week sometime. But, you know, I was there. I was at bars in my early 20s, and I was surrounded by friends, and it's to a point where it's like, I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm not going to be surrounded by friends. I don't really have a lot of money. And, yeah, if you want to go be a hotshot, the man at a bar, my experience, my understanding is the best time to do that is in your 20s. Not that I think it's, like, over with women in your 20s, and I'm sure if I started hanging out at bars now, I'm sure there's like, maybe not exactly the women I want. Maybe I could get the women I want at a bar. Maybe I could just get women that not necessarily I want at a bar. You know what I mean? Like, you guys, there are women at bars who will go home with you. Don't listen to this whole, oh, it's over, boyos, you're getting mogged at the bar. Like, no, dude, it's just like, how low can you go? How low are you willing to go? You know, there are girls who hang out at bars. There's a song by Knapsack. She likes to go home with broken men, sit at the bar and wait for it to end. She likes to drink with broken men. Yeah, something like that. Check that song out. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, guys, definitely a rambly video. I had to put the bro hat and the sunglasses and the hood on, and it was still rambly. This is what happens when I don't make a video for a while, but I think it's some content. I got some good stories in there. Any last bar stories? Man, I really didn't go to bars that much in Boston. Shit, when I played a show in Rhode Island at a bar, back when I was in my tech death band, when we were on tour. We played a show in Rhode Island, and there would be some like local bands that were kind of like bitter. They just like didn't like us. Some fucking older guy was like kind of kicking my ass in the mosh pit. Like, he would push me, I'd look, and I'd try to like push him, and he would kind of like counter me and throw me. The kind of shit that I've done to some people now in mosh pits that I'm older. When I was like walking out and we were loading out, getting ready to leave, somebody fucking socked me in the back of the head, like pretty hard. And I just stopped for a minute at the door frame, and I was like, okay. And I just kept going. And I knew it was him, dude, because I kind of saw before I was leaving. Walking out, I get socked in the back of the head. I stop for a second. Yeah, let's just keep going. I'm not going to do shit to that guy. He wasn't like that big. He was just fucking older and meaner. And let's see, I was like 22, 23 at the time, but yeah, I didn't want any of that shit. Some really mean people in Rhode Island, dude. There's some tough people on the East Coast, dude. Some tough people on the West Coast. I don't know. There's just tough people out there. In the cities. There's tough people in the cities. There's a lot of people there. That's when I first started running into people. It's like, yeah, I deadlift 500 pounds. It's like, oh, fuck. You gotta watch out for those people, bro. Anything else? Anything else? Bars. Yeah, so there's the guy who turned his back on me. Then there was one guy who I worked with on a boat, and I saw him at the bar, the boat that I quit. I was like, hey, man, I feel like I owe you a drink. And he was cool about it. And for the record, the people that I worked with on that boat, none of them were talking shit about me. I mean, I quit, and it's bitch shit to quit, but they, from what I heard, like, they kind of stood up for me. They're like, no, he was doing a good job. He was doing a good job, but he fucking quit. One night, I felt like I almost fell off of the boat. We were working at night. Jellyfish were falling on my face. And I felt like I almost fell off of the boat. And that's kind of just when I decided to quit. So, life got too real. I'm going around in circles. That's pretty much all there is to say about it, guys. Maybe I could try to like make a new era and start clean and reinvent bars, but I don't drink anymore. I don't really want to. Bars are just not really that great, you guys. And when you hear about guys who sleep with lots of women from bars, I mean, they're men who are physically attractive, and they grow into their They do that all through their 20s. I think your 20s is the best time to do that. When you hear about guys doing that in their 20s, you can be jealous of those guys. But when they continue to do that through their 30s and their 40s, sex is kind of like a drug, man. And it gets to a point where you would enjoy it if you were banging the girls that these guys are banging, but they're just kind of like broken people. She likes to drink with broken men, sit at the bar, wait for it to end. It's just not really like a super positive thing, bro. So anyway, that's me reminiscing about bars. Like 80% of the advice I get, like, hey, Bucky, why don't you go to a bar? You never know who you might meet. I'm sure I'll go to bars a couple more times in my life. Or I'm sure I'll try going to bars again, bro. But I'm not in a hurry. Hope you guys are having a cozy winter. There's just been these kind of like cozy feelings sinking in. And part of the reason it took me a long time to make a video again is because I thought I was going to make a video ranting about Dexter. I've watched like every Dexter spin-off and shit at this point, and there's not really a reason to. Most of the fans like have the same opinions about the show. Nobody's like, oh dude, season 6 is my favorite season. Nobody says that. That's it, guys. God bless you. We're back in it now. Let's get the videos rolling again. God bless you. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.